He wasn't supposed to win. He didn't have the big sponsors, the huge teams, or the deep pockets. But in 1992, Alan Kulwicki pulled off one of the greatest underdog stories in NASCAR history. And then, just months later, he was gone. This is the heartbreaking story of the champion who built his dream, only to lose it before he could enjoy it. Alan Kulwicki wasn't your typical NASCAR driver. While most grew up in the South around dirt tracks and garages, Kulwicki was an outsider, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His background? Not moonshine runs or family racing dynasties, but engineering. In fact, Alan had a mechanical engineering degree and he thought about becoming a crew chief instead of a driver. But he had this relentless belief: if he could combine brains with bravery, he could beat the giants of NASCAR. So in 1985, with almost no money and no backup plan, Kulwicki packed up a pickup truck and a trailer and drove south to chase his dream. He had no crew, no sponsors, and no family ties. Just one car, a toolbox, and himself. NASCAR insiders called him crazy, but Kulwicki was determined. The late 80s in NASCAR were dominated by the powerhouse teams: Hendrick, Childress, Junior Johnson. They had money, fleets of cars, and armies of mechanics. Kulwicki? He was basically a one-man band. He worked on the cars himself, made his own calls, and drove every lap like it was life or death. At first, he struggled. Sponsors didn't want to take a chance on a quiet, nerdy outsider. But then came 1988. Kulwicki earned his first Cup Series win at Phoenix, and instead of the usual victory lap, he did something nobody had seen before. He turned the car around and drove the opposite direction, with the window net down, waving to the fans. It became known as the Polish victory lap, a thank you to the fans and a symbol of his outsider spirit. That moment made Kulwicki stand out. He wasn't just another driver, he was different. Fast forward to 1992, the championship battle came down to one of the most legendary finales in NASCAR history, the season-ending race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 5 drivers were in the hunt: Davey Allison, Bill Elliott, Harry Gant, Kyle Petty, and Alan Kulwicki. On paper, Kulwicki had no chance. He had the smallest team, the least resources, and the longest odds. But he had something the others didn't: meticulous preparation and sheer willpower. Midway through the race, Allison got caught in a wreck, ending his chances. It came down to Elliott and Kulwicki. Elliott won the race, but Kulwicki did just enough to secure the championship by just 10 points. It was, and still is, one of the tightest finishes in NASCAR history. The engineering nerd from Milwaukee, with a team of underdogs, had beaten the giants. But here's the tragedy: Kulwicki barely got to celebrate. Just months into his reign as champion, in April 1993, Kulwicki was flying to Bristol Motor Speedway for a race. The plane crashed on approach, killing everyone on board. Alan was gone. NASCAR was stunned. They hadn't just lost a champion, they'd lost one of the sport's most unique personalities. Drivers like Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace openly wept. Fans wore Underbird shirts, a nickname for Kulwicki's small team, a play on Thunderbird to honor him. And the next race at Bristol, his friend Rusty Wallace won, and instead of celebrating, he did Alan's famous Polish victory lap. The crowd cried. Alan Kulwicki's death left a hole in NASCAR. He was proof that you didn't need money, politics, or family connections to win. You just needed grit, brains, and belief in yourself. But because his career ended so suddenly, he's rarely mentioned with the legends. He had just 5 cup wins, 1 championship, no dynasty. But what he accomplished with so little was nothing short of incredible. Today, when NASCAR fans talk about underdog stories, Kulwicki's name deserves to be at the top. He wasn't just a driver, he was a symbol. A reminder that even in a sport dominated by billion-dollar teams, sometimes David really does beat Goliath. And that's why Alan Kulwicki will forever be remembered as the champion who died too soon. If you thought this story was emotional, wait until you hear about the champion who became more famous as a voice in the booth than he ever was behind the wheel. Click on the video on screen now.